Marc Fogel, a history enthusiast from Pennsylvania, dreamt of sharing his passion with the world. Teaching was more than a profession, it was a vocation. Fogel's career spanned decades and continents. His dedication left an enduring mark on his students. Fogel's story is a reminder of the fragility of freedom. His journey began in Pennsylvania, where he nurtured his love for history. He started in public schools, quickly earning a reputation as an inspiring educator. His classrooms were always abuzz with activity. Fogel wanted to share his passion globally. He aimed to foster cross-cultural understanding. His classrooms were melting pots of diverse ideas. Students from all walks of life learned from each other. Fogel's international teaching career took him and his family to some of the world's most vibrant corners. From the bustling streets of Bogotá, Colombia, to the ancient landscapes of Muscat, Oman, Fogel embraced the challenges and rewards of teaching in diverse cultural settings. He navigated cultural differences with sensitivity and respect, earning admiration from students and colleagues. Each new country enriched his understanding of the world and its people. In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, his classroom reflected Southeast Asia's rich cultural tapestry. He immersed himself in local customs, learning from his students. His time in Malaysia reinforced his belief in education's power to bridge cultural divides. He encouraged students to celebrate their heritage and appreciate other cultures. Fogel's journey led him to Russia, a country with a complex history. He accepted a position at the Anglo-American School in Moscow, eager to share his knowledge. Fogel believed teaching in Russia could build bridges between the United States and Russia. August 2021 marked a turning point in Marc Fogel's life, transforming him from a dedicated educator into a pawn in a high-stakes geopolitical chess game. What began as an ordinary business trip to Moscow to start another school year quickly spiraled into a nightmare that would test Fogel's resilience and strain diplomatic relations between the United States and Russia. Upon arriving at Moscow's bustling Sheremetyevo International Airport, Fogel was apprehended by Russian customs officials. They discovered a small quantity of medical marijuana in his luggage, prescribed by his doctor in the United States for chronic pain management. Fogel, who had been using medical marijuana legally in the United States, had declared the medication and believed he had the necessary documentation to bring it into Russia. The discovery of the marijuana triggered a chain of events that would forever alter the course of Fogel's life. Russian authorities, known for their strict drug laws and often arbitrary enforcement, accused Fogel of drug smuggling and possession. Despite his pleas of innocence and explanations about his medical condition, Fogel was immediately detained and thrust into the labyrinthine Russian legal system. The Russian legal system, opaque and unforgiving, proved to be a bewildering and hostile environment for Fogel. He was denied access to a lawyer he trusted, and communication with the outside world was severely restricted. Consular visits from U.S. embassy officials, while permitted under international law, were often delayed or canceled, leaving Fogel feeling isolated and abandoned. Fogel's trial was a Kafkaesque ordeal, marked by irregularities and a lack of due process. The prosecution presented a distorted narrative, portraying Fogel as a dangerous drug trafficker, rather than a respected educator with a legitimate medical condition. The judge, seemingly indifferent to Fogel's pleas and the evidence presented by his court-appointed lawyer, handed down a harsh sentence that shocked Fogel's family and ignited outrage in the United States. In June 2022, Marc Fogel, the once respected educator, was sentenced to 14 years in a Russian penal colony, a punishment that many, including legal experts and human rights organizations, deemed disproportionate and politically motivated. The severity of the sentence sent shockwaves through the international community, raising concerns about the fairness and transparency of the Russian judicial system. Section 5. Wrongfully detained. The U.S. government, initially cautious in its response to Fogel's arrest, gradually escalated its rhetoric as the details of his case became public. The Biden administration, facing mounting pressure from Fogel's family, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle, and human rights groups, formally designated Fogel as wrongfully detained in December 2021. This designation acknowledged that his detention was politically motivated and signaled a more assertive approach to securing his release. The wrongfully detained designation allowed the Biden administration to explore various options for Fogel's release, including prisoner exchanges, which are often controversial but sometimes necessary in cases where diplomatic solutions prove elusive. However, the already strained relations between the United States and Russia, further exacerbated by the ongoing war in Ukraine, complicated diplomatic efforts. As months turned into years, Fogel endured the harsh realities of Russian prison life. He was transferred to a remote penal colony, where conditions were often brutal and inhumane. Despite the physical and emotional toll of his imprisonment, Fogel remained resilient, drawing strength from the unwavering support of his family, who never gave up hope of bringing him home. Section 6. A Glimmer of Hope. For over 3 years, Marc Fogel's fate hung in the balance as diplomatic efforts to secure his release seemed to stall. The war in Ukraine cast a long shadow over United States-Russia relations, making cooperation on even the most humanitarian issues exceedingly difficult. However, behind the scenes, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected quarter. Steve Witkoff, a prominent real estate developer and former special envoy for President Trump, took a personal interest in Fogel's case. Leveraging his business acumen and international contacts, Witkoff worked tirelessly, often operating outside official diplomatic channels, to find a solution that would satisfy both the United States and Russia. Witkoff's efforts focused on identifying a potential prisoner exchange, a delicate and often controversial diplomatic maneuver. He understood that any deal had to be perceived as equitable by both sides to have any chance of success. His search led him to the case of Alexander Vinnik, a Russian national and alleged cybercrime kingpin, who was serving a lengthy prison sentence in the United States. Section 7. Freedom Secured. The wheels of diplomacy, often slow and cumbersome, can sometimes gain momentum with surprising speed when national interests align. In early February 2025, rumors began to circulate of a possible breakthrough in Marc Fogel's case. Whispers in diplomatic circles hinted at a potential prisoner exchange that could pave the way for Fogel's long-awaited return to the United States. On February 12, 2025, after more than 3 years of wrongful detention in Russia, Marc Fogel walked free. He had been released as part of a prisoner exchange that saw Alexander Vinnik, the Russian cybercrime kingpin, return to Moscow. The exchange, while celebrated by Fogel's family and hailed as a diplomatic victory by the Trump administration, ignited a firestorm of controversy in the United States. Fogel's release was welcomed with a mix of relief and cautious optimism. His family, overjoyed to have him home, expressed their gratitude to everyone involved in securing his freedom. However, the circumstances surrounding his release, particularly the decision to trade a convicted criminal for an American citizen deemed wrongfully detained, sparked a heated debate about the Biden administration's approach to hostage diplomacy. Section 8. Diplomatic Breakthrough or Calculated Move. The prisoner exchange that secured Marc Fogel's freedom was immediately interpreted through the lens of the ongoing war in Ukraine and the broader geopolitical rivalry between the United States and Russia. Some analysts saw it as a rare instance of cooperation in an otherwise adversarial relationship, potentially opening a window for dialogue on other pressing issues. Others, however, viewed the exchange with skepticism, arguing that it would embolden Russia and other countries holding American citizens hostage, creating a dangerous precedent for future cases. They argued that the Biden administration, desperate for a diplomatic win and eager to appease a wartime adversary, had paid too high a price for Fogel's freedom. The White House, facing criticism from both sides of the aisle, defended the prisoner exchange as a difficult but necessary decision made in the best interests of bringing an American citizen home. They argued that the release of Alexander Vinnik, while controversial, did not pose a significant threat to United States national security, and that securing Fogel's freedom was a top priority. Section 9. A family reunited, a nation divided. Marc Fogel's return to the United States marked the end of a harrowing ordeal for him and his family. He received a hero's welcome from his loved ones, who had campaigned tirelessly for his release. Fogel's story, however, is not just a personal triumph. It is a stark reminder of the human cost of geopolitical tensions and the complexities of international diplomacy. His case ignited a national conversation about the use of prisoner exchanges, the role of diplomacy in securing the release of Americans detained abroad, and the delicate balance between national security concerns and the imperative to protect American citizens. Fogel's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of family, but it also serves as a cautionary tale about the unpredictable nature of international affairs and the often heavy price of freedom in a world increasingly defined by conflict and division.